no place like the Q. Family, it's your favorite queer radio personality, Anna DeShawn, and this is Queer News, your favorite weekly news pod where race and sexuality meet politics, culture, and entertainment.
If you're a trans kid, you get to decide what your future is. You get to decide how you identify, how much you identify with your transness, and who you get to be in the world. I don't want our rights to be contingent on the fact that we're all the same. Like, I want to be able to make different choices than you and still have the ability to make those choices. Like, it's our differences that make us beautiful, and it's our similarities that make us beautiful too.
Yes. Nico, I couldn't agree more, my friend. You all may remember that I talked about Nico's book a couple of weeks ago. It's called The American Teenager: How Trans Kids Are Surviving Hate and Finding Joy in a Turbulent Era. Well, I got to interview Nico and dig into the journey of bringing this book to life. Nico actually traveled the country and interviewed 8 trans and non-binary teens and their families. All parts of the country, all different ethnicities, all different belief systems. We had such a lovely conversation. QCrew, you get it first and it's already in your inbox. Family, subscribe to E3 Radio's YouTube channel so you don't miss it when it drops. Also, family, don't forget the Queer News tip line is open. I want to report on the stories that don't make the news, don't make a blog. There are things happening in your local communities, things you are attending that are impacting the lives of LGBTQ folks. I want to tell those stories. You already know, a link is in the show notes. And QCrew, what's going on? As you know, I truly, man, that sounds like a song. Like I should do a remix. But y'all know, for real, I truly am thankful for y'all, because without you, this podcast does not work. You all literally help to sustain our editor, hosting, marketing, PR, travel, all the things. And family, if you're listening to this and you're not part of the QCrew, if you don't give towards the sustainment of this podcast, but you believe in the work we do, you believe LGBTQ stories need to be amplified, and you love and respect how I report on the news and tell our stories, join the QCrew. A link you already know. I don't even know why I keep saying this, but it's in the show notes, okay? It's in the show notes. Now for the news. We have 2 top stories that are follow-ups to 2 tragic events that impacted Savannah Ryan Williams in Minneapolis and Cecilia Gentili in New York City. In politics, you know I got your election update as well. Now, in culture and entertainment, Thailand makes LGBTQ history, and Chicago installs progress flag crosswalks across the city. I was there and actually got to cover the story, and I can't wait to tell you all about it. So let's go. Family, our top story for today, we've got 2, but we're going to start with this one. It's about Savannah Ryan Williams. Now, you might remember that name because I reported on this story last year. She was a 38-year-old Cuban and native trans woman who was murdered in Minneapolis. Do y'all remember that story? Let me give a little bit more context and maybe some of it will come back to you, right? She was chilling at a bus stop. She solicited the man who actually ended up killing her, Damarian. He accepted her invitation, yes, and she proceeded to give him oral sex. And during this, he actually shot her at point blank range. And during questioning, he said she made him feel suspicious. Family, this gay panic mess just infuriates me. Just be okay that you liked it. Just be okay that you enjoyed it. How about that? Instead of killing somebody. Well, recently, her killer, Damarian Bible, was found guilty and sentenced to 30 and a half years in prison. It's so tragic because I promise you, 99% of these stories, when I hear from the families and what they say, these folks are just amazing people, making impacts in their communities, right? Have relationships with those who love them. Her sister says she was a very kind and loving person. Her kids called Savannah their favorite auntie because she was always so good to them. Her sister went on to say that if she saw one of her brothers who was homeless, she would give them the shoes off her feet and go barefoot. That's the type of person she was. And the update is that the person who killed her is now behind bars, seemingly for the rest of his life. I hope that this gives her family a little bit of peace, because they'll never really have peace. You know what I mean? And for our next top story, it's about the legend, the icon, Cecilia Gentili. Now, I know if you've been listening to this podcast, you remember this story, because Cecilia's death, it impacted not only the New York LGBTQ community, it impacted the entire country. I saw an endless amount of dedications to her. I learned so much about the work she'd been doing, not only in New York, but truly across the country. Her impact was felt in so many ways. And after her passing, you may remember this part, right? Her memorial service was held at St. Patrick's Cathedral, the epic location, right, where the AIDS protests took place. Do y'all remember that? Her crowd for her services filled that cathedral. And the story where that they didn't tell the priests that Cecilia was trans, right? And then they came out with statements. I mean, I probably did 3 or 4 follow-ups to the original story of Cecilia passing away, just because of the impact and all of the events that happened afterwards. Well, family, I'm here to report that the 2 men responsible for providing her with the fatal dose of fentanyl, right, that was laced in her heroin, have now pleaded guilty. And this is a detail that her chosen family didn't want anybody to know. When the news broke that she passed away from a fatal overdose, her chosen family was very upset that that news had leaked. And yet, it is the truth. And yet, hopefully, it's a reminder that none of us are immune to fentanyl, that it is still impacting so many of our lives. She was found in her Brooklyn apartment, not only with fentanyl, but cocaine and heroin and xylazine in her system. Cecilia was very open about her drug use and the struggles she had around that, but it's just a small piece of who she was. And I believe that her legacy will live on in the things and the ways in which she impacted the people in her communities. I mean, she was an icon. Now in politics, family, we are 35 days away until the election. That's like a month. Are y'all ready? Are y'all ready to vote? I know I am. I'm ready to vote. I'm ready to see how this all pans out. But before then, this Tuesday, we've got the next debate. It's the vice presidential debate. Now, this really won't have any impact on how people are going to vote come November. Historically, they haven't, but what it is gonna give, I believe, are some good sound bites, because JD Vance is unhinged and Tim Walz comes to fight, okay? This will be a 90-minute debate. It's gonna start at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 o'clock in Chicago, 6 p.m. from my West Coast friends, okay? This Tuesday is being moderated by CBS Evening News anchor Norah O'Donnell and Margaret Brennan of CBS's Face the Nation. That's right, so you can watch it on CBS. Of course, all other major networks will be carrying it, and it's gonna take place in New York. Chile, I believe Tim Walz is gonna eat JD Vance up. I think it's gonna be so good. There is going to be at least 2 or 3 things that come out of this debate that are going to go viral on social media, because JD Vance is unhinged and Tim Walz is that guy. Yes, he is. Now I think it's a great time to take a quick break. And when we get back, you already know, let's dive into culture and entertainment.
Welcome to Joy in the Breakthrough, a podcast where we'll be talking to a wide range of leaders from different generations and backgrounds. Leaders who have found power in being broken open. I'm Connie Lindsay.
And I'm Anna Valencia. We are your hosts, and we believe that our challenges can lead to breakthroughs, and we want to share these insights with you.
We hope these stories will inspire you to find the I'm possible in you.
Listen to Joy in the Breakthrough on Thursdays and follow them on social media at JoyITBPod. Listen inside the queue or wherever you get your podcasts. Family, you know somebody interested in getting into music, taking voice, songwriting, or piano lessons? Well, I got somebody for you. His name is Sel, okay? And I want you to go visit keysforlifellc.com. Book a lesson today for less than $50. If you're hearing this, it means we didn't sell this ad space. If you're hearing this, it means running ads on our podcast actually can work. You see what I did there? You see this real life example? You got an event, do you have an organization, do you got something you need to get the word out about? We got rates starting as low as $100. Check the link in our show notes for more information. Family, welcome back to the show. Now let's jump into culture and entertainment. In a decade's fight, Thailand has made history as the very first country in Southeast Asia to legalize same-sex marriage. That's right. Now they're the third country in Asia to legalize same-sex marriage. The king signed the bill into law. Yes, I reported back in June that the Senate had passed this legislation, and now it will take effect in January of 2025. Now, when this law goes into effect, same-sex couples will have the same rights as our straight counterparts, all right, in Thailand. It's going to grant same-sex couples the right to adopt and inheritance rights, yeah. And the beautiful part, the law actually uses gender-neutral language. How cool is that? Now, Thailand has been known for a very long time as a queer-friendly place, okay, especially within the Southeast Asia region. And this is due to so many of the activists and advocates doing the work on the ground to make Thailand a safe and brave space for LGBTQ folks. Now, Anne, who is the co-founder of the Bangkok Pride movement, she expressed her joy. She said, "Today, we're not only getting to write our names on marriage certificates, but we are also writing a page in history that tells that love never sets a condition of who we were born to be." I love it. Come on. Now, what's going to be the next Southeastern Asian country, okay, to give the queer some rights? I love to see it. Now, family, this next story is a special one because I got to cover this story on the ground here in Chicago, and it gave me an opportunity to put on my other hat. Yes, my civil service hat that I get to wear as a member of the mayor's LGBTQ Advisory Council. That's right. I don't talk about this much, okay? I've served on this council. Gosh, I don't even know how many years. I started serving under Lori Lightfoot when she was mayor of Chicago, and now I'm serving under Brandon Johnson. We get to advise the mayor's office on LGBTQ affairs. On this day, I was able to represent as we got to roll out these pride crosswalks. So in our neighborhood, which we call North Halsted, there are pride crosswalks in significant areas. So when you're walking around the neighborhood, you're reminded, like, we affirm you here. Those crosswalks have not been applied to other places throughout the city. And we know that queer folks live absolutely everywhere. Yes? Absolutely. And they appear downtown, but never made their way into the neighborhoods. We are a beautiful city of beautiful neighborhoods. And so one of the initiatives of the council was to see if we could put those crosswalks in other places. And it finally happened. We started at the Jeffrey Pub on 71st and Jeffrey. It's an iconic bar, the oldest Black gay bar in the country. And I got a chance to talk to the owner, Jamal, about what he thought the community would think about this very gay crosswalk in basically the hood, and hear what he had to say.
That I don't know. I cannot tell you in detail that, but some people may take it as a positive manner, some people may not. But as far as I'm concerned, it's still a step forward.
That's real. I think there are some people that may not like it, but I think that there are even more that will feel affirmed and feel seen. And I'm with Jamal. It is definitely a step forward. There at the dedication, the alderman of the ward, Alderman Yancey, also joined the celebration and the dedication at this crosswalk. And I asked him, what's next for South Shore? How are you planning to include LGBTQ folks in your policies, in the work that's happening in South Shore? Hear what he had to say.
So we're still working to build a lot of that. I've got a great relationship with Shannon over at Brave Space and then Jamal here at the pub. And so we are working on a plan that makes South Shore feel much more inclusive to members of the LGBTQ plus community. So stay tuned.
All right, Alderman, we're going to be staying tuned and seeing what happens next in South Shore. I think the crosswalks are a beautiful beginning, and yet there is so much more to do. Then the next day, we got to travel to the other side of the city to a neighborhood called Andersonville. Andersonville is historically known for being incredibly inclusive. And Women and Children's First, the iconic bookstore, was chosen as the next location to place the Other Progress flag crosswalk. I got to talk to one of the owners, Lynn, about why this is the perfect spot for this crosswalk. Hear what she had to say.
I think they're going to be thrilled. We're all so proud and honored for this crosswalk to be one of the first ones in the city to be at our store. Andersonville is such a special neighborhood. It's not only been LGBTQ supportive forever, but it's also one of the homes to the localism movement in the United States. So it's the perfect home for our store.
I can't agree with her more. I mean, Women and Children's First is an iconic spot in the city of Chicago. They have all the banned books you could ever need. Okay, it is absolutely a pillar, and I'm glad it's still open as a resource as we know what's happening to bookstores across the country. I also got to talk to the alderwoman of the 48th Ward, Alderman Lenny, and to talk to her about what this means. You know, it's a crosswalk, but what does that really mean? Hear what she had to say.
So that we can celebrate our communities, but also show everyone in the world that we are a very welcoming and beautiful and inclusive community. No matter which zip code you visit in Chicago, you should be able to see from signs and symbols that you see all over on our crosswalks, in our neighborhoods.
Yeah, we can't underestimate signs and symbols, right? And us knowing that that means we are welcome here. My colleague and comrade Robert said this to Windy City Times. I just imagine the thousands of people that will cross these intersections and see themselves reflected. Never underestimate how that visibility can impact people. And I think that's the crux of it, right? The crosswalks are just a beginning. They may seem meaningless to some. There's somebody who needs to feel affirmed, and they're gonna walk across that crosswalk. They're going to see it as they're driving by. They may pass it while they're on the train and see that this neighborhood, they're affirmed there too. Hey, here's to us making more crosswalks across the city. Next stop got to be the West Side. Aye. Now, family, let's close out the show with a little messiness, a little ratchet. Okay, I think that's healthy. I think that's healthy for us. As reported by Gay Magazine, one of my favorite sources, which you should also follow and support, they shared the story about Young Miami, aka Carisha. Yeah, she did an interview with Boosie at Revolt World in Chile. Let's be clear, I am no fan of Boosie, okay? He's about as homophobic as they come. He's very problematic, all the things. And you know what she asked them? She said, why you always in gay people business? And the whole crowd started laughing. He started laughing and cracking up. And he went about replying like, I ain't in gay people business. I just speak my mind and my opinion because I got the right to do that. He went on and on and on. He even talked about how he just didn't, he went on and on and on and just talked about how he doesn't want basically gay people to contaminate his children. Chile, contaminate? I mean, this is the type of language that he uses. And Gay Magazine went on to report about his daughter, who identifies as family. And she responded to her father's remarks in this 12-minute long video. And I'm just going to be honest, I couldn't watch it. I could not watch it all because the pain on her face is just so familiar. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. Because she is seen as the contamination to her siblings. And as someone who identifies as queer, and I know that y'all listening identify as queer because y'all told me so, yes, we know the truth. And I think that that is what frustrates us so much. That is what gives us the courage we need to fight and stand up when we need to, because we know we ain't had no choice in this. We know that if there was an easier way, we would have chose it. If there was another way, we probably would have went that way. But this is just who we are. Because we are who we are in the world, we just know how dead wrong they are. Just dead wrong. Okay? Boosie, go sit down somewhere and tell your daughter that you love her. I'm telling you, before it's too late. Jeez. Y'all already know what time it is. It's that point in the show where Anna's got a word, because Anna's always got a word. And today, I want to tell y'all to go watch Will and Harper. Now, I know I talked about it last week, and I talked about it some months ago when the word came out that this documentary was going to exist. But after watching it for myself and watching Will Ferrell and Harper Steele travel across the country for 16 days, and Harper talk about transitioning, going to these rural places and outing herself every single time, and seeing Will Ferrell support Harper and Harper support Will, and Will ask questions and Harper answer, and Harper being honest. Chile, it is so worth the watch, and such a beautiful reminder that life is too short to be anything other than who you were meant to be. We must let go of all the people pleasing. Let go of all the expectations. Chile, just leave that all behind and be exactly who you are. Be who you are. You were beautifully and wonderfully made, just the way you are. Don't conform. Don't try to be something you're not. And good grief, did that movie, that documentary speak to all of that. It's so good. Do yourself a favor. Watch Will and Harper. I promise you're gonna love it. So family, until next week, yes? Peace. If you've enjoyed what you heard, rate and review us inside your favorite podcasting app. This podcast is written and produced by me, Anna DeShawn. Podcast editing by Ryan Woodhall. And brought to you by E3 Radio and distributed on The Cube. We are Queer News Done Right.